everybody, and welcome to the Absolute Football Podcast, brand new pod. And it's all dedicated to everything non-league, from the Vanarama National League, Vanarama National League North, and the Vanarama National League South. As you can tell, we are a few minutes late. We did have a couple of technical difficulties, but we are here now. And as you can see, we've got some familiar faces and some brand new faces. We will start with the familiar faces first, but it might not be familiar to you. Ben, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Apart from catching the sunburn yesterday, which it surprised me even for the end of April, we're doing okay. So I'm just trying to make sure it doesn't catch in the back of my neck of my shirt because it's a bit painful at the moment. But apart from that, we're all very good. Excited to be chatting all non-league tonight for a change.
And if anybody can't see your shirt, who do you support?
Mighty Maidstone United. So just qualified for the National South playoffs, which sure will come to an end before they've even started on Wednesday. But we live in hope. So yeah, it's always been the Mighty Stones for me.
Fingers crossed. Another familiar face as well from the Absolute Football Podcast team. Unfortunately, she is on here because they have been relegated. But then, apart from football, how are you? And then tell everyone who you support.
I'm doing good. Like I said last week, it is what it is. We'll see what National League brings and what we can do down there. But yeah, I do support Markham, the struggles they're going through right now. But hopefully, over the summer, it'll sort itself out and we'll be ready to battle in the National League.
Fingers crossed. And our brand new faces will start at the top. And someone whose team is really near the top, to be honest. Morgan, how are you? And tell everyone who you support.
I'm doing really well, thanks, Shah. I'm a York fan, as you said, doing really well at the top. But yeah, doing well, enjoying the sun that, as Ben said, is finally coming out in England. And yeah, things going well.
Love to hear. Lee, a familiar face. You have been on the podcast a couple of times with us, haven't you? Hopefully it's not as rowdy, this one, as the lower league one.
No.
But
not
tell
yet.
everybody, I know. Tell everybody who you support and how are you as well? Sorry, I forgot to ask.
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, can't wait to get this pod started and for the many more seasons to come. I am a Crawley fan, but I do follow Worthing down in the National League South. So big game coming up Sunday.
I know.
Sunday, still got Wednesday to come. Yeah, hang on.
Positive.
You ain't one yet.
Oh, it's starting already.
You're new, so you're forgiven.
Christian, how are you? And who do you support as well? Tongue-tied, Ben.
You're right. Yeah, great. Thanks. I support Boston United. Do a bit of everything with them, including stadium announcer, which was the best place to be, I think, on Saturday because we're doing all right.
And last but not least, Rob, how are you? And tell everyone who you support as well, please.
Oh, yeah, Rob Worrell, NL full-time, also BBC Surrey commentator, and I support Aldershot Town. So it's a mixed time at the moment. We've got something rather big and tasty coming up, but I think all of us players, supporters, everybody heads gone a little bit, but hopefully we can get back on track very, very soon. And actually looking at the National League people here, with the exception of you, Jen, and welcome to the wonderful National League. You're going to love it. You've got us in the right order because Morgan's on the top row. And yes, Christian, Boston are now above Aldershot in the league, aren't they, as well, I think. So, or they might be by the end of the season.
So we are. You could have got away with that.
Thanks for having us, Shah. Much appreciated.
Oh, no, thank you so much. And if anybody isn't familiar with me, I am Charlotte and I am a Rochdale fan. There's not many of us, but I'm a Rochdale fan. But of course, it's not just us. We have some wonderful people in the chat as well. Someone who has been on before and we love very, very much. And if you ever want to come on, Trev, please do, because we loved having you last time. He's put up the bees. We've got Sean, who's a Northampton fan. Hi, team. Hope you're all doing well. We are very well, thank you. Chris, bless him, was asking when the pod was starting. Yeah, the other Chris was anytime soon. a Spenny fan, Chris, he comes in all the chats, bless him. We didn't argue, by the way, when he did beat us. Just put it out there. We're still friends. Shari's just checking Rochdale is still in the Vanarama. Not long now. I was. We've got Graham as well. He's a Charlton fan. Good evening, regulars, and good evening and welcome to all new people. We've got Kyle as well. Good evening, ladies and gents. Chris again. We've got Jason out as well. That's for you, Jen. We've got still can't believe my Rochdale bantering curse Gateshead. I know, sorry. We got Brucey Super Morgan, Bruce. Love that.
A bit of a fan.
No, I'm loving it. Sean has asked, did Liam have a nice time at the EFL Awards last night, Jen?
Yeah, he did. He had a really good time, and then he went out for breakfast this morning and met Paula Radcliffe just randomly in a cafe in London. As you know, just randomly. And of course, he did meet John Bellingham last night. So yeah,
love that.
Yeah,
love that.
Very,
I was so jealous when you sent that picture.
When
I was so jealous.
Yeah, when he sent it, I was just like, God's sake, what's he not me? Why am I not there?
But yeah, we are going to start with the National League first. Morgan, I'll come to you. York, tell us about your game on Saturday.
Honestly, it was, I don't want to be too harsh to Solihull, but it was really easy. We scored after 3 minutes and it just set the tone for the game. I was watching it, obviously, there live, got my season ticket, and it felt really easy then. I checked the stats earlier today just to double check what I was watching, and it was just easy. We scored after 3 minutes. Cameron John getting his first of the season, which I think takes us to 19 different goal scorers now. But we spread goals all the way around the squad, and we just controlled the game for the entire game. Could have been about 6. Made it 2-0 in the 90th minute, but it was one of the most relaxing games of football I think I've ever watched. Knowing that Barnet were winning their game so easily, the title was gone. It was just onto us just to kind of have some fun almost. It was like the pressure's gone. Let's just see what we can do. And we beat Solihull so easily. Good watch.
You say that now, right? Our game in hand tomorrow is Solihull. And you know what's going to happen. You know now. You made it look so easy against them. You know what's going to happen. All we need is one win to secure that 4th spot. Just about your season so far as well, Morgan. I mean, I'm going to ask. I know the answer to this already. Happy with how it's going?
Yeah, just a little. Yeah, ecstatic really. The fact that last year we stayed up on the last day, and I went to Solihull actually, and we knew if we didn't lose by 3 goals, I think it was, we would stay up. We went and lost 1-0, and we were all really happy with a 1-0 loss to stay up. So to play them on the penultimate day at home, beat them 2-0 in one of the easiest games I've ever watched, incredibly happy with this year. I couldn't have really asked for anything more. Yeah, really happy with this year.
I'm not going to say too much about Solihull. Not going to say too much, no, from my big mouth. It's not happening. It's not happening. Christian, I'll come to you next. Obviously, we did mention Boston. I thought I was on the Premier League one then. Tomorrow, wow. I'm on all 3. Do you know what? I'm on all 3 podcasts this week. So I'm a bit like, my head's a bit mashed. Boston. Tell us about the game and how your season is going so far. I mean, you're on the up, aren't you? 100%.
Well, I said at the start of the season, if we get to the last day and we're still fighting for survival, we've done well. So we've surpassed my expectations. We are now mathematically safe, which is quite ridiculous to say. We were 12 points adrift at the start of March. We've won 32 points in the last 8 weeks to stay up. We needed a win against Gateshead on Saturday or Dagenham to lose. And when Dagenham were 4 and 5-0 up fairly quickly against Altrincham, we knew we were going to have to do it ourselves. And we went ahead after 10 minutes. Keaton Ward, his 100th appearance. And a few weeks ago, I'd got a text off him. And I shared this with Rob on our podcast a couple of weeks ago that Keaton had made another one of his predictions. He said it would be his 100th game, the last one at home, and he'd be scoring in it. And that's exactly what happened. Gateshead equalised 6 minutes later. We then lost Jacob Hazel to injury, but his replacement came on still in the first half and scored. And it was James Gale's goal that settled it in the end, 2-1, and job done. And it was very much party start for us at the JCS. And as I mentioned in the introduction, I am the stadium announcer, and what an experience that was to be able to share with everyone at home, staying in the league, because it's been an almighty run. I know some of our victims of recent weeks are represented on here, and there's suddenly no shame in losing to Boston. We've won 10 of our last 15, and we're sticking around.
No, I really love that though. Obviously, Graham Coughlin's your manager, isn't it? Kieran, who we have on the EFL show, he's a Newport fan. And I know he was quite disappointed. He wanted to keep him at Newport. He wasn't sure about the appointment. Obviously, the recent one, I know they have parted ways. But we've spoke about him quite a lot on the podcast, Graham Coughlin, and the job that he's doing. And happy with how he's doing and the players and stuff. That how long has he been at Boston now? Sorry, I can't remember.
So he came in late November, but he only really kind of established what he wanted to do back end of February.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic. Compared to the previous manager we had before, Ian Culverhouse, it's been a bit of a culture change. He's had a different style to the man management side of things. His football's more pragmatic, and Ian deserves great credit because he got us promoted with a style that was based on control and possession. But it let us down in the National League when we were the underdogs, and Graham's come in and pragmatism is the word. He will down talk his efforts, but he's used pretty much the same squad to turn us around from so far adrift to so far safe. And it's just been brilliant. I don't think anyone saw it coming, but we've just bounced along, and we had all these games in hand, and a lot of them away from home on Tuesday nights. And what looked a daunting fixture list, it couldn't come soon enough in the end for us. And Graham's been brilliant. I know he's done this at other clubs, and we felt it was maybe just slipping away from us. And no, here we are. He's done it again.
I love that. And as you said as well, obviously, it's not until February that he started to kind of been able to do stuff with the team. So I'm actually really excited to see when he brings in some more additions as well, and he's had a bit more time with them, what he could actually do. Obviously, considering what he's done this season so far, really excited.
Absolutely. And it was about 6 weeks ago the club confirmed we were going full-time next year, and that was whether we got relegated or we stayed where we are. So we've gone from hybrid to full-time. We've committed to building the fourth stand at the JCS as well. So the project's kind of coming together, but the fact we've actually stayed up makes that decision make more sense now. So it's clicking together nicely, and we're hoping, having survived the scare this year, we can sort of kick on now and look to an Altrincham or a York, to be fair. I know it's been a bit more turbocharged, but there are clubs that have come up and stayed up now, and we want to be one of them instead of a Kidderminster or a Fylde that have unfortunately gone straight back down again.
No, I love that from Boston. There's a lot of Boston love in the chat as well. Boston are going to be a scary team next season. Honestly, I'm excited already because, like I said to you off air, despite where we were at the time and the amount of times we had to try and play that game, but due to our pitch just being like an absolute disgrace, I think it was the third time, wasn't it? We finally played it, and I can say hands down, you were one of the best teams that came to obviously Scotland this season. Enjoyed obviously watching you guys, not from obviously a Dale fan point of view because we wanted that win. We did get into it in the end, but honestly, some of the players and the style of football you were playing that night played some really, really good stuff. So I'm really excited to see what next season does bring for Boston.
Yeah, it should go well, and Rochdale's a good example actually, just because you guys won so convincingly at Boston on the first day, and that was a bit of a shock for us, not knowing what to expect at the level. We'd not been at it for a long time, so it was nice to come back and kind of have that comparison. And you can say that about a lot of the teams we faced early season. I know we've got York representation here, and they're kind of the exception that proves the rule. Most teams have played as a second time and been really impressed compared to a fairly easy afternoon the first time around.
So we've had it like both ends of it. You beat us in August the first time around, then January it's like, all right, cool, you're not playing great. and then it happened again.
Yeah, York was the one. Everyone has one of those teams, don't they? We always seem to do it against York, even if we're poor. And yeah, that was a rare highlight in the first half of the season, the trip to York. And sorry, we've not been able to help you out at the top end because we played Forest Green twice pretty quick, and we took a point off Barnet, which was pretty decent. But a lot of the big results for us have come against all of those playoff chasers in the last few weeks.
Rob, do you want to talk Aldershot and the game at the weekend? You don't have to. You don't want.
No, it's absolutely fine. I don't know if any of the other guys on the podcast have ever been, or their team's been in a situation like this. The brutal reality is we've been old club and new, old Wembley, new Wembley. We've never been there, and 99 years is our history. I think just the fact that we've sold nearly 17,000 tickets for the final already tells you what it means to people. Diehard supporters, people who live in the town, and this has perked up their interest, people who once were stationed there, people who know someone who was in the army there, whatever. It's captured everyone's imagination. So that side of it is unbelievable. And it's good in a way that we've got a whole month to look forward to it. But it's played havoc with us as a team. The mentality side of it. It's just going to sound like excuses, so I don't want to say it. But if you're a footballer who's maybe 19, 20, 21 years old, or maybe you're James Henry at 35, who is probably the only player in our squad who's played at Wembley before, you're thinking this is such a precious occasion. We've already had one player break his leg in the last couple of weeks that won't now be playing at Wembley. So imagine being one of those players in the team right now when you're going on the pitch, when you've known for a few weeks that by and large you were probably safe thanks to a wonderful run. I think it was 9 wins in 12 that got us up to 12th place. We've been in free fall in the league a little bit since, but I do think that Wembley is a massive factor in that. Everybody's tried to focus and put it on the side, but you can't do it. It's very difficult. But Aldershot, we've been on the end of some hammerings at 4-0 at your place and 7-1, 7-2 at 7-2 at York. So, and then beaten by our neighbours Woking, who duly got their revenge for the FA Trophy game, and then we find ourselves, the fixture list has been a little bit crazy, actually. All the wrong games at all the wrong time. So we find ourselves in the role of potential party poopers on Saturday at the Hive. And again, I think we've tried to approach it the right way, but literally 2 penalties in the first 15 minutes, one definite, one contentious. And Barnet are away in front of a massive crowd, probably the biggest crowd, certainly the biggest crowd I've ever been in there. And the best atmosphere I've ever been in there. I think it was 10 short of 5,000. And it was Barnet's day. And it was always going to be, exactly, if you watched Liverpool yesterday, it was going to be Liverpool's day. And it was going to be Barnet's on Saturday. I want to say what an incredible job they've done. What a turnaround Dean Brennan's made over, 3 years or so. They were a little bit of a basket case when he came in there. He came in as director of football. They had a couple of unsuccessful managerial appointments, and then he took the reins, didn't he? And he's gradually got his way. 2 heartbreaking playoff defeats the last 2 seasons. And then, a different mentality this year. We are going to win this thing because we just can't bear the playoff heartache again. And that's what they did. And what I really, really like about what the job that Dean Brennan's done at Barnet, where I would say, by the way, I think he's been pretty well backed by the chairman there. But, and this is a really big but, his vision has been to bring in players that have been in unsuccessful teams in Aluwu and College. They were teams that got relegated and conceded a hatful of goals, but he saw their qualities. He saw the qualities of Ryan Glover, who didn't even have a team at the start of the season, who was training at St. George's Park, paid a little bit of compensation for him. And he's been awarded the Supporters Player of the Year, 10 goals, 11 assists. He's been ruthless when it comes to his goalkeeper. Last season, this season, he said, he's not good enough. I'm going to get someone else in. So you can't nobody can stand there, and I'm sure Morgan, who's delighted to be in second place, also won't deny Barnet what's duly theirs this season. They've won the league with a game to spare. They probably feel they should have done it sooner, but they were worthy winners on Saturday and worthy winners of the league.
Yeah, no, what you're saying about Barnet is completely true about being worthy winners. We beat them in October with a very quick fire double. The first half was pretty even when we played them. Then a brilliant free kick, a goal 70 or 80 seconds later. We beat them. We're thinking, all right, we've got a title race here. Then don't lose until Braintree beat them a few weeks ago. That is just ridiculous to go on that type of run. They fully deserve it. And it was when they clinched it. And our owner, Matt Ugler, who has been in the press a little bit for his social media antics, he's had some spats with certain people, but he came out.
Oldham.
Yeah, Oldham.
I love it. It's my hero.
But Oldham and Yeovil and Scarborough is a local rival. He's had some spats, but the first thing he said was, "Congratulations to Barnet. You've been brilliant. You deserve it." And it was just that, like, as a fan base, like, yeah, we can't compete with that. Wait, let me just check the table. Yeah, they're a point off 100. Like, they could very easily break 100 points. Like, at a certain point, we've been brilliant, but you just shrug and say, well, fair enough, what can you do? They've been excellent, and you're completely right. Dean Brennan, over the last 3 years, he took them from what you're saying, they were a bit of a basket case, and he's just completely transformed them. He's done an absolutely brilliant job.
Completely agree. Just on the Aldershot point of view as well, we do have Chris, who's a Spennymoor fan. And he's put in, Spennymoor has the experience at Wembley 12 years ago when the Moors won the FA Vars.
Yeah, it's fantastic achievement, that. And I understand that they could potentially be, the first team to have won both of those trophies. And they've got a massive chance. I mean, you saw them up close and personal, Shah. They found a way. I know you flunked it on the day. I know that. They found a way to beat you. And it's no fluke, because they've beaten 4 National League teams, all of which, by the way, are above Aldershot in the league table. Hi, Christian. And they deserve to be there on merit. In Glenn Taylor, they've got a striker who's been there, seen it and done it, who's capable of stepping up. And I think they'll be relishing it, Spennymoor. I think they'll have seen how vulnerable Aldershot are defensively. I think they'll come up against a different Aldershot on the day. I do back Tommy Widrington to get the strongest team out and in the right frame of mind for that final at Wembley. I feel for him. It's been difficult in the last month, very, very difficult. And I hope it's a cracking game. I hope it's just a really, really good game, Chris, and the best team on the day win, as long as it's us.
I think all us Dale fans as well, we're all Aldershot after what happened. Sorry, Chris. But we're all like, should we go Wembley? Aldershot.
I'll only be happy if Aldershot win if Super Jack Barham gets the winner. That's all I'm there for, to be honest. What a guy.
I've got my tickets for Wembley as well for the Aldershot final, so I'll be there.
Excellent.
Love that. Just want to say to people in the chat as well, we are going to move on to the other results in a minute. If you do support a club, please feel free to send in your match reports and I will read them out, because I'm always intrigued to know from the fan point of view as well. I will quickly just talk about the Rochdale game though. So Rochdale 5, Hartlepool 1. Started a bit dramatic, to be fair. A penalty in the 5th minute. It was a penalty. Nobody could complain about that. Leon Ayende got fouled. And obviously, Devante Rodney did convert it. 6 minutes after that, typical Dale style, we let Hartlepool equalise. But do you know what? It was a little bit of sloppy defending. But the header, you can not take away from them. A very good bullet header from Featherstone. And then, to be honest, we just played really, really well. I was quite shocked about Hartlepool, to be fair, because they have been in quite good form recently, haven't they? Climbing up the table. So I was a bit shocked to see them playing so poor, but I don't want to take that away from Dale as well, because we did play very well. The goal, Ian Henderson scored on the 19th minute in what is apparently going to be his last home league game. Nothing has come about a new contract or anything. They did announce that it was his testimonial season this year. Nothing's come of that yet. I don't know whether he will sign a new contract. I don't know whether it's his retirement. We're not too sure about that right now. But Ian Henderson scored. One person I did want to mention as well, he did get the third. He got both assists for the first 2 goals. Is Leon Ayinde. And we've had him this season on loan from Ipswich, a young lad. And what a brilliant first half he did have. He got a goal as well. So that's always good to see. But it's not really got the credit. I know the National League Team of the Week went out, and Toby Adebayo-Rowling was in that for us. And I think Leon Ayinde should have been in there, especially considering he got the 2 assists and a goal. So I just did want to give him a little bit of a shout out for that. 4th goal came quite early in the second half. Devante Rodney again. And then somebody who we were all really pleased to see, because he did start scoring goals before his injury. We have him on loan from Exeter, Jay Bird. He came back, and the thing is with Jay Bird, right, we have only had him for a short time. He's only played a handful of goals, obviously, because he did get injured. But when he came on, the roar us Dale fans gave him and the songs we were singing to him, it was as if a club legend had just walked on the pitch. And he's out of contract this season as well. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we do end up signing him. But the more you look at him and see him, I just feel like it's going to be a Kean Hayes number 2 situation, because he's far too good for National League. But that little bit of hope, you know what you do have, that little bit of hope. But yeah, he did score in the 85th minute as well. So yeah, a really good day at the office for Dale. We have now gone up to 4th in the table. We do have a game in hand tomorrow against Solihull Moors. As I've mentioned several times, we never beat Solihull Moors, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that they might be on the beach. They've not really got anything to play for. That's the hope I'm holding on for. If we do seal that win, we do get 4th place. We could still get it as well. At the end of the day, I think we only need 2 draws because our goal difference is really good. But yeah.
Shah, can I ask, congratulations on Rochdale making it. That's a great achievement. I love the job that Jim McNulty's doing, and you were absolutely brilliant against Aldershot a month or so ago. Can I ask you about a couple of your strikers?
Yeah, of course you can.
I love your forward line, to be honest. I see
Yes.
what Henderson still brings, and I'm so impressed with Devante Rodney. He was brilliant against us, and I didn't realise he was such a composed player. I thought he was a bit of a hit and miss player, but he seems a bit like Ini Effiong to have really matured, and he just looks more the complete article now. I just wonder what's happened with Cairo Mitchell. Is it just a competition for places? Because he was flying. He's a streaky striker, and what I mean by that is he gets on runs, doesn't he?
Yes.
And he had a fantastic run earlier in the season.
I'm going to be really honest, and this is something that is at the minute is really like our fans are really mixed on this. So I love Cairo Mitchell. I think he's a brilliant striker. Obviously, the form that we saw him in at the start of the season, it was unstoppable. Is a confidence player, Cairo Mitchell, and I feel like when he's low on confidence, the fans aren't helping as well, to be fair, because they're always on his back. But he's a confidence player. I feel like he's struggling massively. And I don't know if it's obviously not helping the situation now, because you've got like Ian Henderson scoring, Devante Rodney, Jay Bird's now coming and scoring. So I think Cairo is quite down on that at the minute and being quite hard on himself. And I feel like he's trying too hard now. And it's so frustrating because the amount of chances he's had, and especially in recent times, he's hit the bar, it's pinged off, and I just feel like luck isn't going his way. And it's so frustrating because I love Cairo Mitchell and I think he's an absolutely brilliant player. I just think at the moment, he's not really fitting in the way he should. I feel like when he's there, when we play the forward three, he's the centre of that. He's our main striker, and I feel like he could maybe be suited more outwards. Devante Rodney's playing brilliant on the left-hand side, so I wouldn't move him. Maybe if you are going to play Ian Henderson, play him forward, because I feel like when we do bring Cairo Mitchell on, we tend to put him in the centre, but then I feel like he's very secluded in the centre and he don't really get much to him. And it's really frustrating because I really like Cairo Mitchell. I know there's a lot of our fans now on his back. They have been for some time. A lot of our fans want to see him go, and I don't like that because I feel like even though he has lost form in recent games, he's still got a lot of goals this season, and you take them goals away from our goal tally, we won't be in a position that we are, to be fair, and a lot of our fans don't see that. And I think this season especially, we have actually been quite lucky with our forwards because we've had people scoring goals like from all sorts of positions. We've had Taryn Alarakia scoring. We've obviously had, like we mentioned, Henderson, Devante Rodney, Jay Bird's come in, Ayinde, Conor McBride as well has got the odd goal here and there, who we got from Gateshead. So I think Adi Barlow as well. Can I just say he's absolutely quality, Adi Barlow, and he's too good for National League. Like, what a player he is.
Just quickly on the stick that Mitchell's getting, and I've been following this from afar. Taryn Alarakia as well, getting a little bit of stick, and most of us sat here tonight could probably think of one or two players who were scapegoats at our team.
Yeah.
I just think it's worthy of mention that in 2025, with all the social media availability and accessibility, supporters don't underestimate the effect it has on players' mental
100%.
health. It's sometimes easy if you're at home on your keyboard, on your phone, or you're at the ground shouting. A lot of us are involved on the media side of things, and we get to know some of those players. We get to talk to them, they front up a little bit. But I think we've all known players that have their mental health has suffered massively because of it. And I just put the question out there: is that supporting your team?
No, definitely not. I remember Sam actually cut. I think it was about a 15-20 minute rant I had. I think Ben and Jem were both on the Lower League podcast at the time, and it was actually about Taryn Alarakia and Cairo Mitchell. And I think I spent a good 15-20 minutes ranting and calling out a lot of our fans, and it's gone as a special episode. And Taryn, bless him, actually saw that, came across it, and he messaged me on Instagram and thanked me, and he was like, "Thank you so much for having my back. I really, really appreciate it, especially on a platform like this where so many people like respect your opinions and things." He was really, really grateful. So I just think as well with Rochdale fans, I've said it time and time again, we're getting a little bit entitled. Like, we need to stop this because not that long ago, we nearly weren't a club. We nearly went into liquidation. So we need to remember, and they're the same with Jim McNulty as well. They're awful to Jim McNulty. They call him Jim McNumpty. They say he's not got a clue. And I think this guy is literally, he's learning as well. He was our interim manager. He's then took it upon himself with all the struggles he had last season. And then this season, I've really enjoyed it this season. I think he's done wonders. He's not spent a penny either on a player. It's all obviously been either free transfers or loans, which I think is magnificent. The way he's playing as well, I think is really, really good. And the modern day kind of football, we need to just stop being this entitled bunch because at the end of the day, we nearly didn't have a club.
Totally.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Very passionate.
All right, that's it. Our rant's over. Let's get back to positive.
I know. I get really defensive over our players. Just quickly go into the chat. Sorry, we've got quite a lot of chat here. I wanted to point out this as well. Ayinde, bless him, number 15, doing it proud. And his celebration, he pointed to the shirt because obviously it was our Joey T's shirt as well. So I think that was brilliant. Yeah, never fall never fall in love with a lone player. Never. I feel like we've all done that at some point, and it's broke our hearts.
Yep.
We've had to eat ice cream and listen to heartbreak hits
Yeah.
because of that. I'm really hoping Ollie Dyson signs with Spennymoor from York. He's been great for the Moors. Reckon it could happen?
I think it does. Like, he's one of those players. There's a few of them that have left us and gone elsewhere. Maz Kuyara at Kidminster. I know we're not dropping International League North yet, but he's another one that got us promoted and has then been absolutely brilliant at the other club they've been at. Ollie Dyson, he's just won, I think it was the manager's player of the year at Spennymoor and might have been supporters player of the year. He's just won a couple of awards at Spennymoor, and York fans have seen like his progress this year, and we've all absolutely loved seeing how well he's done. When they beat you in the FA Trophy semi-final, he said, he was going to walk out with his little boy at Wembley. York fans are really, really happy for him. He got us promoted, and he was one of those players that he was honest, he was hardworking. We all wanted Dyson to succeed. He just wasn't technically good enough. Like, you look at how good our midfield is now. Dan Batty isn't starting for us, and he could start in League One, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Ollie Dyson he's such a nice person. We all want him to succeed. I hope he goes to Spennymoor and absolutely smashes it next year. Like, yeah, I hope he does move to you, Chris.
Don't recall him for the playoffs then, with Wembley on the horizon.
Yeah. I'll quickly come to everybody who's not spoke about any of the games yet. So, Ben, I'll come to you first. Is there any standouts on here that we've not mentioned?
I think the obvious one's got to be Dagenham 6-1 win against Altrincham. I mean, where on earth does that come from? I think just a couple of weeks ago, I think I'll probably say that they're down and out, to be honest. I think just everything that's been going on off the pitch for them is just, is obviously influenced what's been happening on the pitch. And they have been under a huge amount of pressure because they're a side, not even that 10, 15 years ago, were playing in League One, and they could potentially dropping into National League South. And obviously, we've seen a number of clubs, like, look at Scunthorpe as probably the most recent one, dropping from that level all the way down to the 6th tier. They can't afford that to happen. It is now in their own hands going into that final day of the season, which is helpful. And also, not like it was going to make much of a difference anyway, because they had, had the goal difference advantage anyway. But 5 goals taken off them, that helps massively for them. But they need to, find their way to a positive result, obviously, when we come on to it. Then they've got Solihull on the last day as well. Josh Rees as well, getting a good hat-trick. I mean, again, Josh Rees is, on his day, one of the more standout players, midfielders in the National League. I think he's more than capable still of playing maybe Football League, into maybe League Two. I remember his time at, I think it was Bromley, and, he absolutely dominates that midfield. He wins his battles. He's very good with the ball. And, he's very much an attacking type midfielder. He wants to get in around that 12, 18-yard box and, cause some danger. And, for him, that would have given them the world of confidence. And that's the thing. When you win a game like that against a playoff chasing side as well, which has ended now with their playoff chasing, I hope now for Altrincham, which is a shame because they were in and around there for so long and they just haven't taken opportunities when teams slipped up. It's cost them in ultimate. And, probably that's a very sad way for their season to end, because I think Phil Parkinson would have been delighted, how the season's gone for them. I mean, they're making progress every year, but I think this year they probably maybe feel like they've underachieved a little bit. But for Dagenham, absolute massive credit to them. And, for their supporters, praying that hopefully they'll get something on the final day at Solihull that sees their National League status retained. But there's only wait to see on that one.
Just on Josh Rees as well, I actually saw a stat that apparently for Dagenham, he's got 16 goals. And I think that's a really good return for a number 8. I know you mentioned, obviously, he's attacking, but that's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he had a good influence as well, thing on their cup runs, getting to the third round. I want to say he scored at Wimbledon. I can't remember off the top of my head. But, he's a player that's got experience, and probably helps the younger players as well. Because, it wasn't that long ago. I think he was, one of the younger players in an inexperienced team. I remember it being his time at Gillingham as well. But ever since now we've gone into Dagenham, he's taking on his own. And for someone to score 16 goals from midfield in a struggling team, that's sitting above the bottom 4, that takes some doing for any player, particularly in such a tough division as the National League. So, that's the thing. They'll be praying, obviously, to stay up in terms of maybe keeping hold of him. Potentially, I think that might be difficult because there's a few clubs will be sniffing around for him. But as long as he gets improved Saturday, that'll help massively.
He's done it for years as well. At Bromley, at Aldershot, at Boreham Wood. I haven't tied it up, but he might be over 100 goals in the National League stroke conference. Wow. We call him the non-league Frank Lampard. That's exactly what he is. He arrives late. He knows how to finish. He's a natural finisher, and he's a lovely bloke as well.
Just quickly on Altrincham as well, I'll leave it to whoever wants to answer. Alex Newby, Regan Linnett, do we think they will be there next season, or do you think they'll go to maybe a different National League club, or do you reckon a Football League club? No, there's a lot of interest in Linney anyway.
Yeah, I think Linney might go AFL. Not sure about Newby, but he's good.
He's had a really good season this season, Alex Newby. I don't think he's really had the credit that he deserved as well, Alex Newby, because I feel a lot of them have been talking more about Regan Linnett, and yes, so they should. But the goals and how versatile he is as well, from scoring his goals and the assists that he's had as well, Alex Newby has been a real impact for him this season.
Yeah, another one I think they might maybe struggle to keep hold of, depending really on what other interest to get in clubs, is Justin Amaluza. I mean, he's a player that I know really well from his time at Maidstone, and on his day, he's such a tricky winger to play against, and he almost plays sometimes like he's in a park with his mates. The only thing that holds him back sometimes, I think, his attitude. I think sometimes his attitude's never quite on it. I think sometimes maybe felt when he was playing for us, he's probably a bit too big for us. Possibly he might say different, but it just sometimes came across like that when he was on the pitch. But ever since he's gone to Altrincham, to be fair, I mean, that's probably a bit of a gamble, I thought, from their perspective. But he's absolutely thrived since he's gone in there, and fair play to him. And if they can finish, obviously, depending on what happens in the summer, and that wouldn't be surprised if you higher up National League clubs maybe looked into him, or maybe a lower league, League Two club takes a chance on him. I'm not sure, but on his day, he's a cracking player. He is, to watch.
Yeah, I fully agree about that. The Altrincham front three, it's always one that scared me. They've got a bit of a thing for York. They seem to beat us every single time we play them. But yeah, any three of them, Amaluza, Newby or Linney, I could see them all in the Football League. I think it could massively depend on how the playoffs go. Obviously, Altrincham have missed out, but when you've got two Manchester-based clubs in Oldham and Rochdale, if either of those two do get to the Football League, it's a pretty short journey. If you're going from Altrincham to either of those two, you can make that step up to a bigger club, to a bigger fan base with a bit more money into the Football League. If you do make it, it would really suit any of them, especially Rochdale. With the way you play, I think any of them would really suit the football that Jim McNulty plays. So, if you guys do manage to win the playoffs, obviously it would be at the extent of us. But if you do go up, then I think you could all be sniffing around Linney, Newby or Amaluza.
I know, obviously, with Alex Newby, we have had him before, but it was under Robbie Stockdale, and it didn't really... You could see glimpses of his quality, but the style Robbie Stockdale played, it didn't really suit that. And you didn't actually get the best out of Alex Newby in that formation. Regan Linney, we were actually interested in him when we had Jim Bentley. And it was only a 10K. It was only a 10K release clause while he was at FC United. But we didn't pay that at the time. Couldn't afford it. It was when we were having all our financial issues. And apparently we got Toby Malarkey instead. And obviously we didn't keep Toby Malarkey for long. He's now at Crawley, I think he is. Toby Malarkey. And we actually got him instead. Didn't take the chance and obviously getting Regan Linney at the time because of financial issues. And then he went straight to Altrincham, I think, that transfer window. And there's actually talk about getting Regan Linney. But I think the only problem is with that, I heard after one of the Altrincham Rochdale games, him and Kyron Gordon had a little bit of words to say to each other, and I don't think they really get on. So if we did put them problems aside, I think he would, like you said, Morgan, I think he'd be a perfect fit for us. But who knows? Because I think there'll be a lot of interest, obviously, for him. He's a quality striker on his day, Regan Linney. Lee, I will come to you next. Is there any standouts on here or any you do want to talk about?
I've got to agree with Ben really on the Dagenham game.
Yeah.
I've got a friend that's a Dagenham fan, and he messaged me Saturday going 4-0 at half time. He's like, it's unbelievable with what's gone on at the club, with them bringing this Egyptian YouTuber in, and then he's quit a day later because of the fans. The fans just not accepting it. I was going to go to the game Saturday with him, but he said it's a bit of a hostile atmosphere at the moment because they're just fed up with the owners. But to see them win 6-1 and potentially staying up with going down to the final game of the season, I think all Dagenham fans, the hardcore fans, deserve to stay up and fight for another season.
I completely agree. Sorry, this made me smiled. I'll give you a tenner after Sean for saying that. Jen, is there any standouts for you or any you do want to obviously mention? Or any you're looking forward to next season?
None. They're all down south. Pray for Carlisle and Morecambe next season. That's all I'm saying. But no, I'd probably say the Tamworth Fylde game, because what a game that was. It was constant back and forth. Like Tamworth was scoring, then Fylde was scoring, and then obviously Tamworth got the last minute winner, which we all love a last minute winner.
Yes.
So I think it's incredible for Tamworth. Obviously, they are probably going to just miss out on the playoffs, which is sad for them. But Fylde will be going down. I don't think they're going to be safe now. But yeah, it seemed like a thrilling match to watch. And the thing I'm most excited for in National League is it just seems like such exciting football. Like, don't get me wrong, I love League 2, I love EFL, but sometimes it can be really boring football. And you just sit there like, why am I here?
It's a roller coaster down here, Jen. You're going to love it. There's only one or two exceptions to that. Largely, every team plays to try and win every week. It's very, very rare. I've seen teams just try to come and get a draw in the last couple of seasons. It's so refreshing.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm most excited for. Just seeing everything, new grounds, new atmospheres, new everything really, which even though it is bad that we are going down, it's also something exciting to look forward to as well.
I just want to go to the chat, and if this is going to make me laugh reading out the name, I've done it before. So muscular. He's a Gateshead fan. To anyone listening on audio, he's actually called So Muscular on here. By the way, Gateshead versus Southend on the final day for playoffs. We didn't lose. We just created absolute cinema. And he's also put, I think he's a little bit annoyed. He thinks Carlisle are going to do what they usually do and take half of their players.
Amen.
Green Acres as well is a Forest Green fan. Saturday was the best I've seen Forest Green Rovers play for months, but it was brutal at times. Fondop is a fug, but it is had his number. I'm just going to leave it for any of you. Is there any other games that you do want to talk about in National League or give a mention to?
Shah, Christian, because I've talked too much already, do you want to just highlight the significance of that Southend and Wealdstone result?
Yeah.
Because it's really massively affected both ends of the table. And I think
let's have a quick look on the table now. Bring it up.
Yeah, perfect. Well, that one was really teed up nicely by the Dagenham result. Dagenham beating Altrincham and also Boston beating Gateshead. So it opened the door for Southend to set things up for themselves. It was the late kickoff, so they knew going into that one if they could beat Wealdstone, they'd be in the driving seat. And as you can see there, they're now sitting 7th place. I know it's come through on the chat, and it's one that Gateshead were discussing at Boston on Saturday, that they host Southend on the last day. So had they should have been in a position they'll feel that a draw would have been good enough. They've now got to beat Southend at home. And then at the other end of the table, because it was the 3 playoff chasers playing the 3 teams trying to save themselves, it's been a bit of a disaster for Wealdstone, really, because Dagenham and Boston won their games against playoff teams and Wealdstone weren't able to. They're the ones that sit in the pink there, and they need a result now, and they need a win because that goal difference isn't going to sort itself out. Dagenham aren't losing 21-0 at Solihull, so Wealdstone are going to have to win it, and it keeps Maidenhead in it as well, and that's where I'll be on Monday with Radio Lincolnshire, and thankfully for my nerves and our listeners, there's nothing on it for Boston.
Just one little point to add there.
Of course.
Because of the situation in the league table as we're looking at it, you've got the bizarre situation now. I think it happened to Boreham Wood last year. Wealdstone could win their last match and get 53 points, and they'll still go down if Dagenham win, won't they? So I just think any team from any league ever, if you get 53 points, it's really unfortunate to go down. I can remember my lads, I live in Cambridgeshire, and my lads are Peterborough fans, and they once were 2-1 up in a game at Crystal Palace in the Championship, in a game which they only needed to draw with 10 minutes to go. They lost it 3-2 and went down with 54 points. That's probably the worst example that I've ever had, but there's always that one unlucky team. Do you know what, though? I'm going to make a prediction, and it might seem a bit bold, but looking at the fixtures on the final day,
Let's have a quick look. I have got them all here.
Yeah, I actually think that it's going to be really difficult for Dagenham. I think Solihull Moors have improved. Depends, obviously, how Solihull Moors come through the game with you guys on in midweek, of course. But I think that'll be a really difficult one. I can see Dagenham and Redbridge maybe drawing or losing that. And I see good reasons why Maidenhead and Wealdstone, both at home, can win their matches, because they're both against teams that have done what they needed to do. Boston are safe, and Halifax. Do you know what? That late winner for Halifax on Saturday in the 84th minute was massive for them, because it secured their playoff place, but also massive in this whole scenario, because now they could be looking to rest players. They're in the playoffs, and I can see Wealdstone and Maidenhead both winning at home on Saturday. I don't know how other people see that, but I still think, despite that 6-1, I think Dagenham could go down.
The only thing is for Halifax is in terms of the fact that, it's obviously depending on what happens with Rochdale against Solihull tomorrow, they could still finish fourth. And it's like, you want a home advantage in the playoffs, and obviously for eliminator game. Obviously, I know they can't finish higher, but I don't know whether management or not will settle for sixth in terms of the fact that, they don't want to go away for potentially 3 games in a row. Well, I know last final being at Wembley. But, as long as I think it's in terms of impossible, I think for them, because at the moment they're going to Oldham, and Oldham away, if you get a full crowd, down there at Boundary Park, that's going to be so difficult for them, I think. But look, again, they probably will have a little bit of relaxation, I think, because, like I say, knowing that they're in the top 7, that's incredible for achievement for a club that don't get the best support in the division, and obviously have the pitch issues every single year and everything. But they still always manage to come out on top. But at the same time, Wealdstone will be playing a bit like probably Barnet probably did against Aldershot. They need because they've got something riding on it. They need to go all out for it, because, like I say, a point's not going to be enough for them. Even if it's a 3-4 all draw, because they need a win from somewhere, and obviously Solihull to do them a favour. So it will be interesting to see how Halifax want to approach that, because I think they'll probably be winners. I think, look, we want to go with some momentum, but at the same time, look, they're in the playoffs, and they're probably just happy to be in there, I would say. But if for them, you want to try and get a home advantage, but who knows? I think, like I say, if I were them, you might want to rest just one or two of the real key players, and maybe bring them on last 20 minutes if they need a goal somewhere. But it will be to see how it pans out.
Great point.
I will really quickly just read out the table, and then I have got a question as well for everyone. I will ask you first, so Morgan. It is about York, that's why. Do not worry. I'm not just putting you on the spot, don't worry. So the National League table, as you can see, Barnet are champions and have been promoted on 99 points. York City are second on 93 points. Forest Green are third on 82 points. Rochdale are fourth on 71 points, but as we mentioned, they do have a game in hand as well. Oldham Athletic are fifth on 70 points. FC Halifax Town are sixth on 70 points. And Southend United are seventh on 67 points. But as we mentioned, Gateshead are eighth, and they do play each other on the final day. And then in the relegation zone, 21st, we have Wealdstone on 50 points. Maidenhead United are 22nd on 49 points. 23rd are AFC Fylde on 40 points, who have already been relegated. And Ebbsfleet United are bottom of the National League table on 22 points, and they have already been relegated as well. I will really quickly ask you this question as well, Morgan. Do you think Ollie Pearce will stay at York? Lad played excellent other week.
Yeah, I do. I think Ollie Pearce stays. He's brilliant, but he moved up here with his manager that he's played under for years, with Joe Felix, who's played with for years, Harris Mail, who's played with, Ricky Aguiar, who he's played with. He's 29, I think he might have turned 30. He's not young, but him and his partner moved up here when they signed. Like, this isn't one where he's moved up by himself and he's happy to quickly move. I think all of them have seen a project here. They're going to be here for several years. I think the fact we signed Josh Stones for 3 years, Malachi Fagan-Walker after his excellent loan move from Cardiff, he signed in January on a permanent. There is a project going on here that I don't think players are going to want to leave, and I think there's going to be players asking their agents, how can I get to York? That might be a little bit biased, but I think there's going to be players who see it and say, I need to be at that club because they're going somewhere. The wages will also help, because I think we're paying players quite well. I think players want that, but I think there's a project here that everyone wants to be in. And I think the squad could be quite similar next year. There's certain players that you'd look at and be like, well, they can play in League Two quite comfortably. You look at how Chesterfield have moved on, and the Chesterfield squad is pretty similar. I think the Bromley squad is pretty similar. Obviously, Michael Cheek's having a fantastic year in League Two this year.
Yeah.
The teams that do well in the National League don't need to overhaul their squad in League Two. The gap is quite small, and you can just take your squad up. Obviously, Jen, you'll know League Two better than anyone. You'll know that the National League to League Two jump isn't massive. You can keep a project together, and it can just keep going. So yeah, I think Pierce stays.
Yeah, I say it as a Morecambe fan as well. Like, a lot of our squad is National League players. Like, we have Tom White from Gateshead. There's quite a few of our team that we're trying to keep hold of are National League players, and if we can keep hold of these players, it could be huge for us next season, because obviously they know the National League. Derek Adams, if he stays, he knows what to do with this club. He knows it from top to bottom. He's the man that needs to be leading this club. So, as you say, I don't think it's a massive jump from National League to League Two. So if you can keep the same team, I think you'll be more than fine to survive in League Two.
Right. I think we're going to go to the craziest league that there has been this season. Ben, do you want to talk about the Stones first, or do you want to talk about the league in general?
Yeah, let's get the Stones out of the way first, because there's not really too much to say. And it's probably almost a dead rubber game in some ways. I mean, look, we knew our playoff place was all but secured, barring an absolute disaster with Western going at Eastbourne, but obviously that went out of the window pretty quickly. Although for about 5 minutes, we're probably worried because we went 1-0 down after 3 minutes. And you think, oh, God, that's one goal that they needed for Western. Poor defending from our part, a corner. I mean, to be fair, in all fairness to Farnborough, they should have been 2 or 3 up after about half an hour. They were, for a team that's got absolutely nothing to play for, and they were very light on the ground as well. I think they only named 3 subs on the bench, but they came out and really gave it a go. I think they had a massive crowd. I think it was about 1,600 in. They had a lot of kids and everything like that, and obviously they wanted to make it a bit of a good day for them and a good spectacle. And I thought they did that, to be fair, Farnborough. And to be fair, for a side that in 10th for the league, I think maybe if they'd had a little bit more consistency in certain areas, then I think they could have really been in a shout of a playoff place. But I think the manager Spencer Day mentioned in his post-match interview afterwards that the reason why they are where they are is because they make mistakes. I think the first time we really got into their box, we end up scoring. I mean, Tom Lee, he's been out for a couple of weeks with concussion. He managed to, lovely finish, to be fair, past Jack Turner. And we probably thought we were very fortunate to go in at 1-1. And then second half, that we've made a few changes. We're trying to rest. Obviously George Elikobia had eyes on resting a few players for the playoffs. Brought off Temi Aweka, our star, one of our star defenders. Even gave a goalkeeper, Lenny Holden, a chance to brought off Alexis Andre Jr., which I thought was class, to be fair, because Lenny's got a tremendous attitude. He's there every training session. He's there every game. He's always on, when we need him. And and George obviously said that he fully deserved his opportunity. It's just a shame about 60 seconds after he came on, he ended up conceding. So, I mean, it was poor defending on our part. I think Tate Trusty would have probably admit that. He got absolutely outdone. And then Matty MacArthur, scores into an open goal. And you think, the last thing you want to do is go into a playoffs on a back of a defeat. And thankfully, we managed to react quickly. We got an equaliser 8 minutes full time. Aaron Blair getting what is now his 20th goal of the season for us. And again, he's been there in the right place when we've needed him. The goals have dried up a little bit for him in recent times, but hopefully that will give him a little bit of a booster ahead of Wednesday. But yeah, no, we knew for well at the start of the game. When I saw the team lineup, I thought, yeah, that's probably fair, because I thought he clearly wanted a few players rested. They played a lot of football, and he just wants to maybe try a few different combinations and keep some players fresh just in case we need them. But at the end of the day, we've done what we needed to do. We've secured a top 7 spot. Obviously, we would have liked to have done it a little bit earlier. And again, like the 6 teams above us, we would have liked to have had an outside chance of the playoffs, of the title. But again, the thing that's ultimately cost us is the 16 draws that we've had. We've given away far too many points from winning positions, and not scored enough goals at times. That's the thing. At times when we win games, we win them quite comfortably, 3-4-0. But then when we really struggle to create anything, let alone like a keeper pulling off an absolute worldie. And the problem was, I think on Saturday, I found is we lacked ideas at times, which is a little bit concerning. But again, look, I think I said it to George after the game. In the interview, I was like, I think it's quite clear that some of the players' minds were on Wednesday, and you can't blame them for it because they're only human at the end of the day. It was a game that meant absolutely really nothing in terms of the context of things. We knew we were finishing 7th. We were just waiting on who it was going to be. And I think, to be fair, as good as obviously the game got better and better, I think my eyes were glued more to football web pages, watching those goals going in, and just watching the context of things, because it was absolutely incredible. But yeah, look, nice to get finished at a point. Would have been nice to finish with the clean sheet record in the league, but can't have it all. So we've got the top 7 spot, which is all we wanted at the end of the day.
Let's put up some of these results, because honestly, it was mad. Pretty much everyone at the top, didn't they, won?
Yeah, I think all 6 teams won eventually. Yeah. Dorking were the last ones to come through, they were. I mean, look, I think first and foremost, congratulations to Truro City. I mean, what an incredible story.
It's mental, isn't it?
Game. That game was absolutely mental. And you know what? John Askey deserves a huge amount of credit, for what he's done down there. And to be fair, what the whole of the club have done. I mean, I just remember going to Gloucester City this time last year when we were playing them. I think it was a crowd of 198 I saw. And obviously a lot of them were our fans, because Truro fans were not going to travel all that way, for a home game. And ever since that, they've just had a massive revival. Even though Paul Watson went off to Torquay, they brought in John Askey, and look, he's a manager that's got promotion at this level before in the National North. It's his first time doing it in the National South. He's done it in the National League. He's one of the best managers you can find, in around the top ends of non-league football. And, look, the squad hasn't changed massively for them. They've managed to keep hold of some key players, the likes of Tyler Harvey. I mean, he scored about 30 goals this season, which, again, he was a key man for them, keeping them up last year. And it was so key for them that they got their early goal, to be fair, Truro, because when you look at the context of things, like Torquay, to be fair to them, you've got to give them some credit, because they've really pushed them towards the end. I think I put in our group chat, at one point, it was 1 goal in it, between the sides. And, I think, actually, if I'm right in saying that, if Torquay had got that goal and it finished like that, there would have been level on points, level on goal difference, and level on goals scored. And you think, well, hang on, they've got to go to, most wins or most head-to-head, which would have been quite the extraordinary finish to the season that it deserved a little bit. I knew there was going to be one more twist in the tail. But then again, Truro knew clearly that they had to keep scoring goals. And even when Fulham get one back at 4-2, you normally think, oh, that's all right, to be fair. We've still got a couple of goals ahead, but you think, hang on, we're going to need another one here because they're only 1 goal ahead. And look, they've pushed for it. They've got a 5th goal, obviously at the expense of St Albans. Even Culverhouse, obviously the success he had at Boston last year has gone from the highs of that to the lows of this year. Taking them down. And look, I wouldn't put the blame on him. I think they got a lot of things wrong in the summer. To be fair, they barely recruited in the summer. I think if I'm right in saying, they only brought in 2 or 3 new players, but kept the hold of most of that squad. But everyone would have had them comfortably mid-table like they usually are. But they've just really struggled for consistency. They've struggled for goals. They've not defensively. They've not been terrible. But goals-wise, have just been such a struggle. When you've got someone like Sean Jeffers, who scored so many goals. He's a record goal scorer, I think, in the National South. And, he's really struggled to get a run in this year. And any club in this league would love to have someone like him in amongst their ranks. And, unfortunately for them, they're going down to step 3. And it's a shame because I love going to St Albans. It's a really good club and proper old school ground. Do great food as well. Like, it's a good, fan experience to go down there. I'm sure they'll bounce back straight away next year. I don't think there'll be any doubt about that for me. But Truro, massive credit to them. What an achievement for them! Like, to play National League football next year. Just hope that Carlisle game comes early on the season for them, because I'm not sure they want to be going on that, because that's the thing. They have to go full time. You can't stay part time in that league if you're doing all that travelling up and down the country. That's for sure.
There's just a comment here, Ben, as well, what I'll put up.
Well, yeah, we'll come on to that. We'll come on to that in a bit about my thoughts about that when we get to the playoffs. But yeah, we'll do that.
Lee, I'll come to you as well. Obviously, you do follow Worthing. Do you want to talk about Worthing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 5-1 win at the weekend, but I mean, like Ben say, where in the country or in the world do you see a league like that where one of 6 teams could have won it on the day? You don't see it. I mean, for Worthing this season, I think their point was when they played Truro at home and lost 2-1.
Yeah.
I was at the game that day, and I even turned around to a few people. I said, Truro are going to win this 2-1, and they did. They were just better on the day, and you could see that from. They then went on and just carried on. But I mean, for Worthing this season, is it going to be third time lucky in the playoffs? I don't know. I really don't know. Danny Cashman, Mo Fowl, Glenn Ray, all those players have really chipped in this season to get them to where they are. But fingers crossed, they can do it. They can win on Wednesday and then win on Sunday. But I don't know. I'm not 100% confident.
What's the impact of Cashman? He's going to be out, isn't he? Hamstring. So what's the impact of Worthing without him?
He's going to be a big miss for Worthing coming into the playoffs, because when you watch him in a game, he's everywhere. He doesn't stop for 90 minutes. He's always running, always creating something. And when he's not playing, you do see Worthing do miss him a lot. So yeah, coming up to it, he's going to be a massive miss.
Anybody else want to add anything on National League South or any of the standout games? Because there's a few, isn't there, to be fair?
Yeah, I think we've got to give some credit to Torquay, haven't we? Paul
100%.
Paul Watton's done an amazing job there, and they did hit the top for a little while, and he said, look, we're way ahead of schedule. We've got a very young side. I think their turnaround there, let's remember, they were in turmoil this time last year. They went into administration, didn't they? I think they've only just technically come out of it this week.
Yeah.
So that is a phenomenal achievement. And as we all saw, whatever games we were at with kind of 10, 15 minutes to go on Saturday, they did everything they could within their power. By all accounts, talking to Joe Pope, who does Off the Line blog and NL Full Time with us, their big regret is not sticking a few more goals past Weymouth the week before.
Yeah.
And they were 3-0 up and apparently missed countless chances. Had one or two of those gone in, Torquay could be your title winners. And there's so many ifs and buts and maybe. I mean, Dorking Wanderers have ended up finishing, 3 points off it. We all know what happened at Bath. Maybe too much was made of that. I don't know. But across the season, they had a wonderful run in the middle of the season that almost offset the horrendous start they'd had. But probably just too many draws towards the end of the season. They're going to be dangerous in the playoffs. I guess we'll come to that. And perhaps when you talk about Boreham Wood against Dorking, I'll come in and have a say on that one.
Yeah, no problem. Do you know what? we will quickly look at the playoffs now while we're on the playoffs. So Tuesday's game is obviously Boreham Wood versus Dorking Wanderers. And then Wednesday is Worthing versus Maidstone. And then the semi-final, it's Torquay versus either Boreham Wood or Dorking. And then Eastbourne versus either Worthing or Maidstone. Who wants to speak about it? Ben?
It's the thing in the back of my mind is it's a repeat of the semi-final from last season where we went to Worthing. The difference this time is they haven't got Ollie Pearce to knock us out this time. So,
yeah, no worries about that one.
Thanks for that.
Cheers, Morgan, lad.
It's all right though, because Mo Farrell's going to do it for us this time. Because Mo Farrell, written the stars. A player that we had on loan last year. He's probably one of the best guys I've met in non-league football. He's actually, to be fair, in the whole time I've been doing the media at Manchester United, I think he's the only player that ever walks up to me and actually introduced himself. No other player's done that. It might sound very small, but I thought that was actually really nice of him to do. He's such a humble guy, and he's a really good player. Like I say, I think he should be playing in the National League personally. And if he's going to do it, I think it's going to be with Worthing. I mean, he's going into it in some good form. Scored a couple of cracking goals, including one I think volley against Enfield. He's done that a couple of times this year. I've seen. Look, it's going to be a tough ask for us. I think we've stumbled into the playoffs. I think I've said that a couple of occasions. We're probably not under that same pressure that Worthing probably are to go up. I think in terms of when you look at maybe the amount of money it's probably been spent. Look, our supporters expect and they do want promotion. We all want promotion, but the problem is that with that is we get promoted, we'll only end up coming straight back down because we haven't got the investment, to push on. We are a top tier National League South club, very low National League club at the moment. That's just where the club is. And look, I haven't got the same nerves. I think maybe if you ask me to kick off on Wednesday, I'll probably be a bag of nerves. But at this moment in time, I haven't got the same feeling as what I did when we went there in the semi-final last year, where I generally thought we had a good chance of beating them. And look, on another day, Matt Rush, shot from 6 yards out, doesn't come off the crossbar, and then Ollie Pearce 30 seconds later goes on the other end and scores. And that's the thing. It was fine margins that stopped us from promotion last year. And look, we know what Worthing about. The one thing that psychologically we'll have over them is the fact we've already beaten them at their place this year. But not many teams have done that this year. And we beat them 2-0. We were very, comfortable, I'd say, for long periods, But then again, I think it was after that game where they really started to show, what they're about. And they are the best side that we've played at the Gallagher this season, without a doubt. The way they play is so good to watch. The manager deserves a huge amount of credit, but I have no doubt I reckon they're going to be more nervous than us on Wednesday. I hope that we're going to have obviously a few nerves about, because look, we want promotion, of course we do, but look, I think because we're away from home for the playoffs, I think that gives us maybe a slight chance, because at home we're expected, and as soon as we start making mistakes, the crowd are on the players all the time. We've been used to a lot of success over the years, and I think playing away from home, we've got a really good away record. It might just help us in good stead going into the playoffs. And to be fair, I've always said we set up so much better against the top sides than we do against the bottom sides, because the top sides, we tend to raise our game. We know, defensively we're hard to beat. But when we play against the lower sides and we're expected to win, we're just not clinical enough in front of goal. We don't create near enough chances. We don't almost take the game to the opposition. So maybe Wednesday might be a good game for us to play. But look, ultimately, our draws have come in handy. Maybe getting all the way to penalties might be our way of doing it. But look, it's better to be in the playoffs than not. I'm happy that we've made the top 7 again. Look, we've got something to look forward to. It's in our own hands now to get promotion. So look, we know it's going to be tough, but look, George will have the players ready. They won't need motivating. 100%, they won't need motivating. And we've got players in there that we've won promotion from this league and and played higher. So look, we'll give it our best shot, hopefully. But I don't know. I'm just not overly confident as I would normally be. But everything happens for football for a reason, and we'll see where we're at come 10 o'clock or 10:30 on Wednesday. We'll give it our best shot, that's for sure.
Lee, anything you want to add on that from a Worthing point of view?
Just saying about get that pot stirring for Wednesday night. But I'm just gutted that I'm not going to be there Wednesday night, so I'll be keeping an eye on my phone while I'm away. But again, with striker Mo, such a great guy. Some of the performances he's put in this season and the goals that he's scored, some of the angles that he scores from are just you wouldn't see anywhere else, really. He just brings them out of nowhere. So, yeah, I think Wednesday, it's not a walk in the park or anything like that at all. The nerves are going to be there. And, yeah, I'm going to be very nervous Wednesday night when I'm looking at my phone and keeping an eye on that score, because Maidstone on their day could upset anyone. So, yeah, you can't say no to anything or be shocked about anything. So I think, yeah, Wednesday is going to be a tough game.
Just a quick opinion. Go on, Ben. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I mean, because it's more in the goalkeeping situation there, because obviously, look, they've now acquired Lucas Coverland, who we know everything about, obviously, with his tremendous season last year. I know he's made a couple of mistakes in recent weeks, but does he start ahead of Chris Haig on Wednesday, or do you think they're going to stick with Chris Haig after Saturday?
No, I think they'll stick with Chris. But like you suggest, Keith has made mistakes. But yeah, if it was me, stick with Chris Wednesday. He's done well, so why not give him that eliminator game?
Just one quick point from the outside looking in. Obviously, it's really hard sometimes, and you guys have done really well there. I think you've been very balanced, very objective. It's hard when it's your teams. Just one point from the outside looking in. I was at Worthing a couple of weeks ago to commentate on the game against Dorking, which was a disappointing one for both teams on the day, because a bit like Saturday, all the other teams in the top six won, but they drew 1-1. Wonderful atmosphere. I think it's incredible the job that Worthing are doing this season. And as Joe Partington, who came on our podcast a month or so ago, said, despite what everybody else wants to say, they are still fully part-time at Worthing. So fair play to them for what they've done. I think they will start as slight favourites. But just one point nobody's picked up on. I think at this point, George Ellacobi and Maidstone will call upon something that they have in their locker. This is cup football now. This is knockout football. And Maidstone have some history here. If you can go, Ben, to Ipswich and win, then you can go to Worthing and win like you've done before. So right off Maidstone in these playoffs at your peril. Go on, Christian.
So I was going to say, listening to you, Ben, a couple of minutes ago, I was hearing parallels from Boston last season when we got promoted, when you discussed about having a real freedom of going into the playoffs without the same pressure you've had in the past. And also specifically when you mentioned about the pressure of not playing at home and the fact that a home crowd can be quite expecting, whereas an away one goes in hope and not in that expectation. And you haven't quite gone in, I don't think, in the same form that Boston did. We had to win in 2 or 3 of our last games to get in, whereas you say you've more stumbled across it. But there's a real freedom in kind of having opportunity you maybe in your heart of hearts feel you don't quite deserve. And there was a lot of that with Boston last year, kind of thinking, well, we've had teams that have been a lot better and, got in the playoffs and missed out. And actually the opportunity's there now to kind of put some of that right. So if it gets going, it's a dangerous beast. And I know the schedule's a bit more spread out with the final, etc. But it's a very short period of time to find your best form in. And you're in the hat, aren't you? You're in the lottery of these playoffs and you have got that sense of freedom. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, that's just what Rob alluded to, actually, because it's actually a point, to be fair, that is very, very, very interesting, because I think I've always said it, and it's not just under George Ellacobi, it's always been a club thing, but we always seem to rise to the big occasions, whether we win or not. The players always turn up, and even when we did it under Jay Saunders for so many years. I mean, you were saying, Christian, about stumbling, obviously our form going to the playoffs. I always remember when we got promoted the first time from the National South into the National League under Jay Saunders in 2016. We went into those playoff games. I think we hadn't won in about 4 or 5 games. We were playing not very well at all. We were very much struggling to score goals, but we managed to get past Truro. I think because we'd beaten them twice in the league. We were in some good form. And then we went into a game against Ebbsfleet, who had spent, a hack amount of money, and everything. They bottled a 13-point lead at the top. We were expected to go there and lose. We were going there for a day out. and then we somehow managed to score in the last minute of extra time and win in penalties. And then you just think, look, league form means absolutely nothing when you go into the playoffs, because it's like Rob was saying, it is cup football now. And like George has always drilled that into these players. He always wants these players to leave everything out on the pitch. I mean, there's a video, if anyone's ever seen it, of the behind the scenes when we went to Coventry last year. We were 3-0 down at half time. It could have been so easy for them to say, well, that we've had it, sort of thing. Like, look, just make sure it doesn't get to 5 or 6, basically. But George was like, no, we're going to go out there now. We're going to show them exactly what we're all about. We're going to go out there. We're going to give the performance for the fans to be really proud of. Can we get a goal? See where it takes us. He will never give in. That's the thing about George. Like, he will always, even after in games where we're 4 or 5-1 down, maybe the fans, maybe he doesn't want to see it. Well, the fans don't want to see it too much, but he's always clapping the players, trying to give them encouragement. He will drive them on to the end. I think that maybe what cost us at Weston a few weeks ago, and a game that we could have won to stay in the title race. But obviously his presence wasn't there. And I love Craig Fagan to bits. He's really good at what he does, as assistant manager, but he doesn't bring that same presence that George does. And like, look, George has been here before. We've been in bigger situations before against bigger crowds. And look, that's the thing. We have got that experience. A lot of these players were part of that, team from the cup run last year. We've got players like Aaron Blair who won promotion from this league again, for Braintree, and scoring in the final against Worthing. So look, we've got players that are capable of doing it. And if we can all I want is on Wednesday is just to leave everything out on the pitch, and like, look, we go down 1-0 to, go midway through the second half. As long as I can say, look, we gave it a good go, then I haven't got any problems at all. We just don't want this season to, to peter out, and finish with a whimper. That's all we want at the end of the day. And, hopefully the 400 fans or so that are going up there will be able to see that, and hopefully they can show their appreciation to the players at the end of it. And, let's hope for a positive result. But yeah. Again, like I say, we'll give it our best shot, but look, I wouldn't worry, we'll definitely be the slight favourites on this one.
Just before we move on to the Boreham Wood Dorking playoff, I'm not going to ask you, Lee, and I'm not going to ask you, Ben, but I'm going to come to the rest of you, and I want you to choose either Worthing or Maidstone, who you think will win the tie. Morgan, I will start with you first.
I think it's a really tough one to call.
Yeah.
Obviously, Maidstone, as I said, they have that bit of less pressure on them. Worthing were the ones that were in the title race going right up to the end of the season. They are the ones at home. They do have the playoff heartbreak from last year, whereas Maidstone are the ones who finished a little bit lower down in the table. They do have the cup experience from last year. As Ben was saying, obviously, Ella Kobe, he's seen brighter lights than the National League South playoffs. He's played in the Premier League himself. Like, he's been there, he's done it. I think I'm going to go Maidstone. There's a thing of away teams. I feel like that lack of pressure, and we've seen teams do it where, Christian will know from when Boston got to the playoff final against York a few years ago, they won 3 away games to get there. There's something about, you've got that first game, you don't have as much pressure. If you can win that, you then can just roll with it. So I'm gonna back Maidstone.
Cheers, Morgan.
Christian, what do you think?
I was just having a quick check of the table and actually noticed that Maidstone have got the best defence, and I'm usually one for in these games it's the defences that win it. But
yeah,
that gap up to Worthing, the 9 points, is so tempting, isn't it? I think in the bigger picture, we're jumping ahead, but I really fancy Eastbourne, and I see it's them. Whoever wins that then goes to Eastbourne, and they've not lost at home all season. So I think as much as that's jumping one ahead and it's a one-off game, etc., I think in the grand scheme of things, it won't matter because I really fancy Eastbourne for these playoffs. And given how tight the standard is between Torquay all the way down to Dorking, there's a very good chance Eastbourne might have 2 home games to be looking to get promoted, and no one's cracked them yet on their own pitch.
Jen?
I'm not biased. Promise. No. Obviously, we played Worthing in the FA Cup when it first started, and they were an incredible team to come up against. I will admit, as a League Two fan, we were looking at it like they are a couple of leagues below us. We could beat them easily, but we went there and we struggled a little bit because they were a very, very good side, and they still are a very, very good side. So I think that's probably one of the hardest fixtures to pick to see who's going to win that, but I've got to go with Maidstone.
Rob, have we got a full house? Or are you going to go with Worthing?
I can't see Maidstone losing this game. I could see it potentially going to 90 minutes and extra time all level. Maidstone are a very, very hard team to beat, particularly in situations like this. So I'm either going to go Maidstone or it goes the distance and then it's penalties. And, you know, that's always a lottery. It could go either way. I agree with Christian, actually. I think, and I'm sorry about this, guys, genuinely, but, you know, we're here to make fools of ourselves with predictions, but I don't think it matters which one of you go through because I think Eastbourne are going to be big favourites on Sunday at home,
100%. Making me all false hope, everyone, for Wednesday. I don't mind.
But Charlotte, how about you?
Yeah,
Charlotte, who are you?
no pressure, Nasha.
I'm going to go controversial now because everyone's picked Maidstone. I'm going to go Worthing, and I'm always wrong, to be fair. So let's go, Ben. If you win, it's because of me. I'm awful at predictions.
Is it because I didn't predict Rochdale to win the league? That was it, wasn't it?
It is. I'm still holding it against you.
Fair enough, I agree that.
We have got James in as well, and he's put any Boreham Wood Dorking preview. Yes. Rob, did you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'd love to start the conversation anyway, at least. I'm absolutely delighted to have been given this game to commentate for BBC Surrey tomorrow night. And I've pulled in Ross McNeely to join me. He's, of course, the former Aldershot manager and Dorking Wanderers assistant or coach over the last couple of years. So that's going to be great, great fun. I'm personally delighted. Boreham Wood's one of my nearest grounds. It's only going to take me an hour to get there. What a wonderful tie this is. These are two teams that were in the National League last season and who came down, didn't they? And many teams could have gone. They went. It's a fascinating matchup. They've actually got the same amount of points. There's barely much between them. I think Boreham Wood a couple of goals better on the goal difference, but Dorking Wanderers are the top scorers in the division. Two of the best and most valued managers in the National League South, I think in Mark White and Luke Garrard, both of whom have given us immense amounts of time on the NL Full-Time podcast and through that I've gotten to know a little bit over the last couple of years. So difficult to predict. If you are Dorking, you've known you're probably going to be in the playoffs for the last few weeks, whereas one or two of these sides are, and Boreham Wood as well, to be fair, one or two of the sides above them are still be a little bit crushed that they didn't win the title. Dorking have been better away from home than at home this season. I think they're unbeaten in 12 or 13 away games at the moment. That's a hell of a run to take into this game. And it's a lovely pitch at Boreham Wood at Meadow Park. And Mark will tell you he hates his own pitch. and he and his players love the Boreham Wood pitch. I've actually seen this fixture once in the last couple of seasons. Dorking have generally played very, very well at Boreham Wood. I believe they went there and won in the league this year as well. James is in the chat. He'll confirm that. So I'm just personally going to go with Wanderers to prevail in this one, possibly like 2-1. But with the experience that Luke Garrard's got and the team that he's got, that he's largely kept together. Nathan Ashmore is one of the best keepers in the division. They've got the experience of guys like Femi Ilasanmi. You guys were talking about Rush earlier on. He'll be in the playoffs again. He'll be playing for Boreham Wood tomorrow. Two very classy sides at this level that probably will feel they should have been finishing higher than 5th and 6th or 4th and 5th or whatever it was. But yeah, so I'm just going to go for Wanderers. That's my prediction and the preview all done in one. Over to whoever wants to come in next.
Anybody else?
I mean, this is too tough to call. I think if you'd asked me maybe about 5 or 6 weeks ago, if you'd asked me if this was going to be the fixture, I would have said Dorking 100%. But Bournemouth, to be fair, have hit some form now. Ever since they lost to us 4-0, they've gone on I think it's a 5-game winning streak, and they've scored 17 goals in that process. And it's too tough to call, because in the big games, Luke Garrard does tend to get a reaction from his players. I mean, he's had experience in the National League, obviously reaching the playoffs on a couple of occasions. Even got them to the final, obviously losing, a bit of unfortunate against Tranmere. But look, Dorking have been here before, and they've got that experience at this level. And it was only a couple of years ago, as James would tell you, what was probably the most dramatic player final, I think this level's ever seen. This level's ever seen. Where Ebbsfleet scored with 94th minute, and then Dorking get an equaliser, with like the last kick of the game. And it is so difficult because, Matt Rush, he's a striker we all know well. He spent time with us earlier in the season before making the move permanent to Boreham Wood. He's scoring a lot of goals. I think he's got 20 now for the season. He's such a difficult player to play against, because you give him any sort of gap in that, he takes it. He will find those pockets of space in and around that 18-yard box. He's that good, he is. But the thing is, though, Dorking know they've got big game players in their side. Charlie Carter, one of the best attacking players in this division, without a doubt. Such a classy player on the ball. Good. It would have been very good to keep him in the National League, and Dorking have done well to keep hold of him, to be fair. And they've got the likes of Rutherford and Pryor, like their goals, so many of them between them. Generally, I think I can see it going all the way, to be honest, all the way to penalties. I really do think it's too tough to call, although be it the thing that Dorking will have in their favour is about, I think the last 2 times they've gone to Boreham Wood, they've won both of them. So that will be, in the back of their mind, and they'll have a strong away support that will go, down to Meadow Park. And if they can pack out Meadow Park, then I think they've got maybe a slight advantage of them. If I'm being a betting man, I think just because of the experience and everything that they've had, I think Dorking are going to edge it, but I really think it's going to be on penalties. I don't think it's going to be during the 90 or extra time. I think it's going all the way. I know myself, James, right.
Morgan, Boreham Wood or Dorking? Who are you going for?
It's a really, really tough one. As everyone else has said, it's a really tough one. Boreham Wood have the second best home record in the league. Dorking have the best away record in the league. It's 2 clubs and 2 managers that have seen these clubs with quite a lot of history. Obviously, Luke Garrard had this Boreham Wood squad and a very similar squad in the National League with players like Nathan Ashmore. Mark White's obviously been at Dorking since they existed. It's a really tough one to call. Obviously, Boreham Wood have had their playoff issues. They lost to Notts County very, very late when they were in the National League playoffs. Dorking have came up through the playoffs when they got into the National League for the first time. It's a really tough one to call. I think I'm going to lean towards Dorking because of that away form. I know Boreham Wood have the second best home form, but I'm thinking Dorking, the best away form. They've done the National League South playoffs before. I think Mark White rises to the occasion. I think he gets enough out of this team. Pryor, Rutherford, players like that. I think Dorking do it, but it'll only be by a goal. If it's even done in normal time. I think I'm going to say 2-1 Dorking after extra time, just to be precise.
Lee, are you sticking with Dorking or?
Yeah, I met Mark this season and had a chat with him. And yeah, just the way he is, and you see him on a bunch of amateurs, the way he does his team talks pre-match, half-time, he's going to want this more than some of the players will do. So yeah, I can see it being Dorking. I'll say I'll go more 2-1 Dorking.
Christian?
Anytime I see a game where it's the top 2 scorers in the league, your instinct's 0-0, isn't it? And the way everyone's being so tight, I'm sorry, Rob, if that happens, because the commentary gig for 2 hours of 0-0 could be a tough one. But it's so difficult, isn't it? 2 teams that are clearly very, very strong, and they're only a result away from winning the league, weren't they? Ultimately, so it's unusual in these playoffs that the seeding only really counts for how the fixtures are arranged. It doesn't really tell you who your favourites are. And it's a difficult one. I think it'll come down to mentality, and whichever dressing room feels in the better headspace, probably going into that extra time period. So it is difficult to call. I'll be contrarian and stick with the home team given that fact, but I wouldn't begrudge Dorking feeling that they can really go and make a good go of this one. And then the prospect of going to Torquay and upsetting a team that's just missed out on the title, which can be a quite nice position to be in as the visiting team there, because there's a bit of fragility.
Completely agree with that. Completely agree. Jen?
You know what I'm going to say. It's got to be Dorking. We're all Mark White lovers on the lower league.
Oh, yeah.
We're massive Mark White fans, so it's got to be Dorking. It has to be.
Do you know what? This fixture hurts me so much because I love both managers.
Yeah.
I absolutely love both managers. But you all know my love for Mark White. James in the chat as well knows my love for Mark White. I cannot go against him as much as I love Luke Garrard as well. And Boreham Wood and what he's done obviously there and him coming back. I cannot go against Mark White. I cannot do it. So I'm going to have to go Dorking. Yeah, he is right. I'm his biggest groupie.
Mark, if you're watching this, Charles going to be playing the birthday message you had to Shard before the game. Just saying, that's going to get you your extra motivation for it.
I know. I do. I took all the pictures of my kids down and put Mark White on. So I'm joking, by the way. I'm not. I promise I'm not a stalker. I just really respect what he's done at Dorking.
Just a really quick final point on that one. James picked it up in the chat, and it's worth mentioning, actually. Callum Reynolds, who finally realised his dream to be an EFL player by winning the playoffs at Wembley last year. And obviously, he's now left Bromley and he's at Boreham Wood. That guy I think is now in something like his 7th or 8th playoffs. Everywhere he goes, he's involved in the playoffs. And last year was the first year he's prevailed. But that's a lot of experience to bring to that Boreham Wood defence for tomorrow as well. And I'm so looking forward to the game. I really, really am. And Christian, you better not be right, otherwise I'm
I love a 0-0 in the playoffs, Rob. We had 2 of them last year, 0-0 and Pens. They're great. They're absolutely fantastic. Nothing to do with winning them both on penalties.
Not that you've mentioned it a lot. Yeah.
I'll have to buy a DAZN pass for tomorrow now to watch the game. I think I've been proper sucked into it now. I've got to watch that game tomorrow. So even if it is a boring 0-0, I just want to see who does it, because, like I say, it's 2 great clubs. And I just can't call it. But obviously, apart from that, I'd have gone slightly with Dorking. But yeah, can't wait for it now.
So we've got National League North. Morgan, did you want to speak a little bit about this one?
Yeah, I can start on National League North. I think the interesting ones, obviously, you look at all 3 of the top 3, Brackley, Scunthorpe and Kidderminster, obviously all going into that last day knowing that they can actually win the title. And as Chris has just said there, Brackley have finally done it. I think it's seven seasons they've attempted to get out the National League North, losing to us in the playoff semi-finals. They lost to Kidderminster in the playoff final. They've lost so many playoffs. They've obviously had COVID impacting it twice when they were still, I think they were 4th in both seasons when that got curtailed. So for Brackley to finally do it and to do it in real fashion, obviously there's probably not an easier game to get this year than Farsley, considering the complete mess that club's been. Obviously, it's been quite well documented across social media how badly they've been run, with them playing their home games at Buxton, I think it was, and them being completely all over the place, the club. So to have that game as your home game, there's not a better way to do it. But they did it. They didn't scrape over the line. They didn't do it 1-0. They went and hit 5. It's like, if you're going to win the title, that's how you do it. Scunthorpe did what they had to do. They won a game, but it just wasn't quite enough. And I think you then turn your heads to Kidderminster, who all they had to do, they go into that last day, top of the league, all they have to do is win, and they lose away at Southport, which Southport haven't had the most interesting of seasons from what I've been aware of. Just having a flick at the table, they finished 18th. They've not been in a relegation scrap. It doesn't look like they're nowhere near the playoffs. They've just kind of fizzled, and Kidderminster had to go somewhere that had nothing to play for and win, and they've struggled to do that. So that could be a big dampener when it comes to their playoff hopes, I think. But I think they're the main three that you're looking at when you look down those results.
Yeah, definitely. Christian, did you want to add anything on National League North? Can't speak.
Yeah, I'd just join in with the Brackley loving a little bit. And
yeah,
I know as we look at teams and talk about players, it's often those that we've had dealings with personally. But a huge congratulations to Shane Byrne as a character. He was at Brackley for a long, long time. He was one of those players that played in all the playoff disappointments. He actually then came away from Brackley and went to Kidderminster. And I know it was tinged with a bit of regret when he was Kidderminster captain and lifted the playoff trophy at Brackley the year after he'd gone. He then didn't quite work out for him in the National League with Kiddie. He was injured and he went back to Brackley. And I know there were a lot of doubters and a lot of noise about whether he was still capable and if he was going to be up to it. And he's dragged them through at times. And yeah, just really pleased to see a genuine bloke and a fantastic National League North footballer finally get that trophy. And Gareth Dean as well, who is one that's been at Brackley the whole time. It's almost been a decade's work for him to drag them out of this division. And you said York and Kidderminster and Boston last season. You know, they've lost the last two finals. So they probably were going to have to go and win the title. And it fell into their laps a little bit with some help from Southport. But listen, they've won their last 4 games when Scunthorpe and Kidderminster have both slipped up on the road at places you wouldn't expect. So that's the consistency you need. And yeah, congratulations, Brackley. And Scunthorpe and Kidderminster are 2 big teams who felt they were probably going to go on and win the league. They've now got huge pressure at home to perform. And it didn't work so well for Scunthorpe last year in that position.
Ben, anything you want to add to National League North?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think to be fair, and I've got to give some credit to Kidderminster Harriers on this because I think they put a tweet out after the game to say, look, there's no team, that's done so much to try and get out of the division than Brackley have. And look, if there was anyone that was going to do it, it was going to be them. And I thought that was really classy of them, to be fair. Look, I think if you put them in the playoff places, I think the inevitable would have happened again, to be honest, because look, it's pressure now on obviously teams. Obviously, when we come to it, we look at the playoffs and that, but there is huge pressure now on both Kidderminster and Scunthorpe because knowing that one of them two isn't going up this year, will hit the club hard. I think because they're 2 teams that expect to be in the National League, be the established teams. They're both well-established clubs. Kidderminster in the National League for a number of years. Obviously, Scunthorpe have been way higher than this. But for Brackley, look, they've waited, like I say, if it's 7 years, they've waited for this, and what a way to do it on the last day of the season. I mean, I said on the show, lower league show last week that they were pretty much guaranteed to beat Fylde, and it's no disrespect to them. I think just everything that's been going on, we knew they were going to beat. It was just a case of one of those teams going to slip up. And to be perfectly honest, I thought it was going to be Scunthorpe that slipped up, but they got a good win at Hereford. But for Kidderminster to lose 2-1 to Southport. Again, aside, probably not had anything to play for. They knew they were safe, a few weeks ago. But for them to lose like that, I mean, then again, it's always these things. There's always an incentive for those teams that have got nothing riding on it to damage someone's season that, literally have got everything on it. There's always that incentive for them. And unfortunately, it's the playoff route for Kidderminster Harriers. But at least the main thing is, they've been here before. It's. I mean, obviously that's the thing. They beat Brackley in the playoffs a couple of years ago. They've got a way about them. They've got an identity about them. They've got a good amount of support behind them. Obviously, I fully expected to be those 2 in the playoff final. But again, you wouldn't rule out the clubs below them at all because Chester have had a tremendous season themselves. And that's the thing. I'll be interested to see how they cope with the occasion and everything. But yeah, huge congratulations to Brackley. They fully deserve to be champions of this league, and they can finally start to prepare for National League life. And what a time to be a Brackley fan right now.
Anything anybody else wants to add on any of the results or anything anyone wants to speak about?
I was just going to say Chorley winning 5-1. Yeah. Looking at the
Very
league, anyone from 10th to 5th could have made it in that playoff place.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously Rushall were down anyway, but surely on the final day winning 5-1 and securing their spot. Yeah, I've got to go for my standout, surely.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just well done to Buxton making the playoffs at this level for the first time. They nipped in. Hereford missed out a little bit at the last minute, as did Chris's Spennymoor, who've had a cracking season, missed out by just a point or so. I can't really add anything to what the guys have said about Brackley, other than just to say absolutely fantastic. And I'm a relieved man, because being based in Cambridgeshire, covering Aldershot, every game's an away game. Aldershot is a 200-mile round trip. Losing Barnet going upwards, I didn't have a team within an hour of me. Brackley, 45 minutes away. Come on.
I love that. I love that. Just quickly as well, Chris has sent in his match report. So Oxford at home, very intense game on the final day of a regular season, but by the Moors finished the season with a 1-0 win. Corey McKeown, sorry Shah, with the only goal of the game just before half-time. And then he put as well, but miss out again on the playoffs by a point. Oh, well, we have a trip to Wembley to go now. Thanks, Chris. As well. Finally glad to see the back of Brackley. That's what he's put. I will quickly read out the table. So top of the North and obviously promoted and champions, we have Brackley Town on 92 points. Scunthorpe United finished second on 90 points. Kidderminster were third on 89 points. Chester were fourth on 87 points. Chorley fifth on 79 points. Kings Lynn Town are sixth even on 79 points. Oh my gosh, what is going on? Seventh for Buxton on 77 points. And then the relegated teams, Needham Market finished 21st on 39 points. Rushall Olympic finished 22nd on 35 points. Warrington Town finished 23rd on 31 points. And Farsley Celtic finished bottom of the National League North on 26 points. Those are your relegated teams. 1 minute. Also, I did say we would finish 9th, 10th on the prediction show. So a pat on the back for you. Yeah. You got them right, to be fair, Chris. We'll have to go back to our predictions. I'm not confident about mine anyway.
Well, no, I don't want to look at back. I put Drew in the bottom 4.
Oh, God.
Shah, just really quickly, can you just go back on the table just for a second?
Of course I will.
It's a really quick point, and Chris will love this point. How bonkers is football when Spennymoor have scored 26 more goals than they've conceded, have finished 3 places behind Kings Lynn, who've got a goal difference of +7.
Mental, isn't it?
Crazy.
We should say as well, for Buxton to get in on the last day, they weren't expecting that at all. Hereford were above them and lost. Curzon were above them and drew, and that was very late. So Buxton were the ones that stole in, and Spennymoor needed Buxton to slip up as well. So they had 2 of the 3 ticks in the boxes, but it didn't quite come off for them. And Buxton, a full-time team, quite a young squad, I believe, and one no one was really expecting. But it's a plastic pitch. It's an awkward place to go.
Yeah, I think as well, just add on that with Buxton, I think we always say that sometimes when teams adapt from part-time to full-time, it can, be a different transition. I think we always say, I think Altrincham found that at the start when they made that transition into the National League. But then slowly, by week, they were getting gradually better. They were starting to see the benefits of daytime training. And I think Buxton would see that. And I think that, to be fair, they probably admit themselves, they're probably ahead of schedule at the moment in terms of, the project where the club want to go. Because I dare say, when any team that, at this level of football will go full time, the ambition clearly is to get into the National League. And look, I think they won't be certainly expected so to go up. When you look at the significance of those bigger teams in there. But I think, as anyone would say, that if they just make the puzzle last day, they won't be there to make up the numbers. They'll give it a good go against it'll be Chester, won't it? So look, Chester again, they'll be the huge favourites for it, but the Buxton can go into it under no pressure whatsoever because look, they've made it last day of the season, and anything else is a bonus for them now because look, at the end of the day, they're going to play, Kidderminster Harriers, obviously, whoever whoever wins out of that one. So again, the pressure will be down to those two sides. So yeah, I certainly wouldn't, you wouldn't rule them out of potential promotion, but it's going to be hard to come against some of those sides that have got a lot of National League experience, particularly the likes of Scunthorpe and Kidderminster.
Just on the National League North playoffs. So Tuesday's game is Chorley versus Kings Lynn Town. Wednesdays is Chester versus Buxton. And then on Saturday, we've got Scunthorpe United versus either Chorley or Kings Lynn Town. And Sunday, we've got Kidderminster versus Chester or Buxton. So just on Chorley and Kings Lynn, what are we all thinking?
Home win.
Agreed.
Yeah, home win. Yeah.
we all Chorley. We all think Chorley.
I think you can just look at something we just mentioned about their goal difference and that. Probably clearly relied Kings Lynn on getting through on just the odd goal. But again, would that help them in good stead for a game against Chorley? But look, Chorley have been here before. They've done promotion via this. I think pretty sure they've done it via this route in the past. I think so. They won't be no mugs or anything like that. But yeah, I think we can probably say everyone's comfortable. Probably a home win in the end, just about.
Yeah. I think just to add on to that, it's the goals. When you look at they hit 76 this year, Chorley, same amount as Scunthorpe, one more than Brackley, 3 more than Chester, the same amount as Buxton. Like, they're a team that scores goals, and when you give them that home advantage, they've been in around the playoffs all year. They've not snuck into it like Buxton did. They've been there. I think you just back them to do it. They're in the National League not too long ago, obviously so were Kings Lynn, but I think you back Chorley to go do it. And yeah, so I'm going to back another home win.
They've only conceded, I think, 2 in their last 6 as well, and they've not lost at home for a while. I think the case for Chorley is a strong one.
Yeah.
Be funny now if Kings Lynn won after we got back Chorley, won't it?
I think you can put Chorley in that same bracket as Maidstone and Boreham Wood with the cup thing, the cup football. Because all those 3 sides have had fantastic FA Cup runs, and I think it's slightly different, knockout football. I do think you have to look at it slightly differently. And this is where some of those teams, Maidstone being one of them, and I know we're done with Maidstone, Ben, but the point is that they're very hard to beat. They do draw too many games, but they're very hard to beat. So, yeah, anyway, I think full credit to Kings Lynn for getting there, but Chorley for me.
Chester and Buxton. What are we going for in this one?
I think personally, that one's a tough one to call. Buxton have the momentum of making it on the last day. As I've just said, they are one of the top scorers in the league, hitting 76. Obviously, Kidderminster have run away with the top scorers hitting 86. But to have a similar goals record to Chorley and Brackley and Scunthorpe, I think Buxton have had a really, really good year. Obviously, being professional, I think if they do go up, I think they're in a good place in terms of recruitment, just because of the catchment area. With them being on that border of like Greater Manchester, Derbyshire's not too far away. Like, they're in the perfect place between the Midlands and the Northwest to capture anything. They've got anyone that drops out of like Oldham and Rochdale, Altrincham. They can look at the big academies. They can look at teams like Chesterfield and Mansfield and Derby. Like, Buxton's catchment area with the project they've got going on. I know we've said they're a couple of years ahead of schedule almost, but I think Buxton are in a really good place. Going to Chester is going to be incredibly difficult. They're traditionally a big club, obviously. This is a reformed version, but they have a big fan base. That's not going to be easy at all. They've had a very good year. Players like Declan Weeks have stood out. Yeah. I think I'm going to back Chester, and Buxton can see it as we've made it to the playoffs. We're a couple of years ahead, and Buxton could be a very strong team next year in what's going to be another competitive league. But I think Chester at home are going to do it this year for me.
I agree with everything you said there, Morgan.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
To be fair, I'll probably go a bit controversial, but I can see Buxton winning this one. I think just sometimes the momentum you can get from getting in the past and the last day of the season gives the team a real boost. I've seen it so many times in the past, even further down the non-league ladder, because that's the thing. You almost go into a bit of a fresh mind. Because if you've been tied in there, they've been there all season. You've been expected to be in there. You've probably been planning for the playoffs for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Then they've not been they've not been too. I mean, what do I say in that? Look, it's I think the confidence sometimes teams get from getting in the past and last day of the season can really help them, like psychologically, because they won't have that much time to prepare for it. And at the end of the day, they'll probably be just thinking, look, it's just another game for us. And they might help them in good stead. I don't get me wrong; it's going to be difficult, and look, we know Chester have come very close. That they've missed out on the league title. I think a couple of results towards the end of the season has cost them in the end. They were very close, but I think maybe on this occasion, I can see Buxton getting through. I can't see them getting past Kidderminster Harriers, but I can see them getting past Chester on this. So they might have a night to remember, but how long it will last for, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm going to go with the away side on this one.
Just to add context to this as well, everybody, Aled is actually a Wrexham fan. That's why he wants Buxton and not Chester. I just wanted to add a bit of context to it. Lee.
I don't think they're irrelevant to them now.
I know.
They're well ahead. Yeah, I've got to agree with Ben. I reckon Buxton, but I think Buxton going to do it on penalties. I think if it'll finish 1-1, and it'll take it to pens. Buxton will win it.
Christian.
I think what is going for Chester is that they have sorted that form out in March, I did think. And I remember there was a Chester team a couple of years ago that was cemented in third for what felt like half the season. And they were just in dreadful form going into the playoffs. Whereas this time they have sorted out a little bit. I think if Buxton could see out maybe even just half an hour, I think Chester will really fancy themselves to come roaring out, big crowd, enthusiastic. I think if Chester don't get that early goal, that could turn to a little bit of frustration. I think the sensible suggestion probably is that Chester win it, but I absolutely hear the argument for Buxton with the momentum. Yeah. I also think if it does get towards penalties, then the pressure flips the other way. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chester are a couple of goals up within half an hour. I think if Buxton can start to frustrate them, they can build themselves into the game quite nicely, but they need to get there first.
Jen?
Yeah, I'd probably say Buxton. Obviously, they've got in on the last day. The hype's going to be there. They're all going to be thinking that they can do it. So I think they'll probably do it.
Rob?
Tight, probably just Chester.
Oh, we split on this one, all of us, aren't we?
Where are you going with, Shah?
I went with Chester. I agree with Morgan. I did. Just going to, obviously, the semi-finals. I know we don't know who's won the other ties yet, but do we think both Scunthorpe and Kidderminster will be too strong for the other teams?
Yeah. I think Kidderminster are gonna win it all.
Yeah, I think the home crowd's both them. The home form they've got, I think it's the second and third best home form this year. The home crowds, and I don't want to touch on crowds too much. Your crowd doesn't win your football game. You can very easily go there and be the underdogs and upset the big team at home. But if either Scunthorpe or Kidderminster start quickly, I think it's going to be really hard for any of the 4 eliminated teams, Chorley, King's Lynn, Chester or Buxton, to go there and get anything, because if either of them are 1-0 up within 25-30 minutes, I think they both cruise into the final. The final's then incredibly hard to call, in my opinion, if it is the two we expect. But I think it is going to be Scunthorpe and Kidderminster that both do it because of the home form, the home crowds, the momentum. I think they do it. Yeah.
I think, to be fair for Kidderminster Harriers, I think the fact they've kept quite a core of their squad over the last sort of few years. They've still got the likes of Amara and Morgan Smith, Ashley Hemmings, Alex Penny. They've been in amongst the that side. Obviously, the part of that cut run where they got to the 4th round a few years ago, and keeping hold of players in national South and North level, it could be quite difficult because you get National League clubs calling all the time, and the fact they've managed to keep hold of that sort of experience in their team might help them in good stead. Having said that, though, Scunthorpe have spent a lot over the summer. They brought in some, proper National League quality, the likes of Mark Beck. He's an absolute monster of a forward. He was at the time when he was at Harrogate Town. They've also got Danny Whitehall. A very, very good player forward. For Eastleigh. Just I think last year before. So look, it will be too tough to call. They are too strong for the other teams in the playoffs for me, but I think they'll have the back in Scunthorpe and. I can't see them not doing it this year. I don't know why. It's just, I think they've experienced that disappointment, obviously, last year against Boston on penalties. And I think that was a bit of a wake-up call for them and thought that they can't just come into the National North and think it's going to be that easy. I think they've learned from those lessons now. And I think they will do it. It will be very close. I think it'll be like a 1-0, but I probably will say in Scunthorpe's favour if it is to be those two in the final.
Anything else anybody wants to add?
Just agree, Scunthorpe and Kidderminster, I think they'll both prevail in the semi-finals. And then I was just double-checking who finished second and who finished third. It will, of course, be a Scunthorpe at home. I think if Kidderminster were at home, I'd definitely go with them. Scunthorpe at home, I don't feel as confident that Scunthorpe will win because they're at home. I think I've got to just go with Phil Brown's men. I think they might just prevail.
I agree with that, and I know we just touched on the Boston thing there, and I'll throw in that I've been to Kidderminster and seen us win a playoff game there as well, so it's a bit goes to Christmas past for both of these two. But I like the thought if Kidderminster get to the final, and I think it is an if. I think they'll have enough because they will have then shrugged off that disappointment from the title. I could see them tripping up in the semi. I think whoever they were to play in the final, I would put them as favourites, but especially if it is Chester that go there. I think that would be a really, really tight game. With respect to Buxton, I can't see them doing Chester and Kidderminster back-to-back. And teams have done it. Braintree did it last year. Boston did it last year. There are teams that have done it in the past. I think there was a year Bradford Park Avenue went and actually won it at Kiddie and another side pretty quickly. But I struggled to see Buxton doing it. I think Kidderminster-Chester will be more interesting, and I'd back both of them to have a good chance if it was Scunny away in the final. But yeah, I think Kidderminster, they just need to shrug this off. It's how they approach it this week, and can they move on from the Southport disappointment? It might be a case of once bitten, twice shy, but they are a little bit ahead of the other four teams in that playoff, really, aren't they?
This made me laugh as well. Aled knows me too well. He knows how bad. He's an OG viewer from the Premier League show, and he knows how bad my predictions are. So I do apologise to the teams that I have predicted, by the way. But yeah, that is the end of the show. And thank you so much to all of you for being part of our first ever non-league show. It's been an absolute pleasure. To everyone in the chat as well. Ben, I will come to you first. Where can everybody find you on the socials?
If you want to find me, it's Ben Stones FC1 on Twitter. If I'm quiet on Wednesday night, you'll know that didn't go very well. If not, there'll be plenty of tweets in capital letters, all the emojis, everything. So, if you want to find me, that's the place to go.
Morgan, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter at _Morgan_Bruce. And I'll be reacting to what should hopefully be quite a quiet Eastleigh last day before then the mentalness of the playoffs to come.
Jen, where can everybody find you?
So it's JenHunt_ on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. You'll find me enjoying these playoffs because I don't have to worry. I'm just enjoying them for what they are.
Christian, where can everybody find you?
Twitter-wise at Boston UTD Stats. It's more than just Boston now. I just never got around to changing the name, and regularly speak to Rob or with other colleagues on NL full time. And if you do want to dabble in some commentary, I'm off to Maidenhead on the last day with Radio Lincolnshire for what could be quite an occasion for the hosts. So multiple options. You sometimes do well to avoid us more than trying to seek us out. But come and have a word, and any questions, give us a shout.
Lee, where can everybody find you?
So you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. It's all under Football League Adventures.
Rob, where can everybody find you? Plug all the podcasts and the shows.
Where do we start? At NL Full Time, if you want to talk to us about anything National League and from a personal point of view, at RobShot66.
And if anybody wants to follow me, I am SharXRAFC. That is on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. My Her Game 2 stuff is Rochdale HGT on all of those socials. And of course, We've got a new graphic now. We are the Absolute Football Podcast. And yes, I'm still milking it. We did win Best New Content Creator at the Football Content Awards. As you can see as well, we are now on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday. 4 live shows a week. So on a Monday, obviously, you can catch our non-league show, which we cover Vanarama National League, National League North, National League South. We have got our Absolutely Premier League show on a Tuesday, which you can find me on there tomorrow as well. I'll be talking Premier League football, but I will have the Dale game on as well, so I will keep you all updated. You've got a break from me on Wednesday. We do have the Absolutely Women's Football show. And then we have the Rowdy Rabble. As you all did know in our announcement video, that is now our lower league show. And we only cover EFL Championship, League One and League Two now, because we have split both shows, which I'm really happy about because it went on forever on a Thursday night. So I'm so grateful for everyone on this show right now. Honestly. But on the socials, you can find us on Twitter because I refuse to call it X. I refuse. We are Absolute Ball Pod. We are on YouTube, Absolute Football Podcast. On Twitch, we are also Absolute Football Podcast. On TikTok, we are Absolute Football Pod. On Instagram, we are Absolute Football Podcast _. On Blue Skies, we are Absolute Football. And on Facebook, we are the Absolute Football Podcast. Yeah, I am having a busy one this week. I mean, why just stick to 6 leagues when you can cover 7, eh? But like I said, if you do tune in tomorrow, I might be a little bit distracted because there is a big game on, the Dale game, but I'm sure I will keep you all updated. But yeah, thank you to each and every person as well in the chat for your continued support. We really do appreciate you. And yeah, have a lovely week and ta-ta for now. Bye, everybody.